Right, I made some jam the other day and I happened to mention I was going to make some scones. Now I've only made them a couple of times before and I've used a few different recipes. So I've used like Paul Hollywood's, he uses bread flour, which were fine. And apparently the Queen Mother said they were the best ones she'd ever tasted. However, tastes are always subjective, aren't they? It depends on the individual. So doing a little bit of kind of looking around, I wanted to understand what I'm doing when I make a scone, what I'm doing and why I'm adding it, and that's just the way I like to do things. So I've looked online at a few different recipes. Some use egg and some don't. I'll get into the differences between the two. Like I say, I'm no expert. I've just done a little bit of research. So I thought, well, I'll just come up with a recipe and see how it goes. So this is it today, Jason's scone recipe. Just using a few basic principles. So principle number one, we need flour, self-raising flour, because we want these to rise. And self-raising flour contains, amongst things, baking powder. So most of the recipes I've looked at start at 450 grams. I don't know why it's 500. Must be in the portion sizes, but well, let's do 450 grams. Let's have a starting point, which is kind of something that I can anchor myself. So I think you've got to kind of anchor yourself with something and say, right, this is ingredient number one, and it's flour, and then everything else is a ratio of that. So flour into the mixer. Next one, I'm adding fat in the form of butter. Now what butter does, it does a number of things. It acts as a shortening. So exactly like pastry, the more butter you add, the crumblier, the shorter the texture of the scone. So I've done a little bit of research and stuff like that, and it says you should use about 1 part butter to 3 parts flour. So in this recipe, that would work out about 175 grams. So I didn't want to go right to the edge of it. I wanted to kind of, because a lot of people use a little bit less. So I wanted to up it somewhere near what they say is the ideal amount of butter. But again, it's all subjective. It's all subjective to what you like. So I'm going to do 150. So that's my starting point, is 150 grams of butter today. Let's say your recipe. So let's give it a go and see how we fare. So that's all I can do. And I don't, I'm not afraid to give something a try. I'm not afraid to kind of, for something to fail. What I want to understand is if it's failed, why it's failed, and what can I do to change it. Now, I know that there's some fail-safe recipes out there already. And again, it's what you like, and sometimes what you kind of stick to, and you just think, well, I found one, I'm happy with that. And you stick with it, and you just think, right, that's the recipe I'm going with, and that's all fine. But I kind of just want to understand a little bit myself, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and go from there. I tell you what, that's 150. We'll just change the recipe before we started. I'll stick it. There'll be a bit left stuck on the bottom of the bowl, I'm sure there will. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's not. There's a tiny bit, so that's fine. Right, I want some salt, which I forgot to get, so give me 1 second. I didn't want to confuse my salt with my sugar, because my sugar's in the same container, and just a two finger and a thumb pinch of salt there, just a little bit, just a couple of little pinches there, just to enhance the flavour. That's all we're doing. Right, so now that's in there, before I add me sugar, I'm gonna now, as you would do in a pastry mix, because if it's shortened, we want to coat the flour with butter. So that's what we're gonna do. Now you can do it by hand, use your pastry cutters and all that. I'm doing it this way because I can. So if there's a few little lumps, I'm all right with that, because I know general scone recipes have that. So let's give it a go. Let's give that a go and see where we go from there. So like I say, this is brand new for me, and it's part of what I do. I just try things out, see if they work. If they don't work, we move on. But at least I know why I'm doing things, and that is kind of where I come from. I like to know why I'm doing things. To this, I forgot to mention actually with the butter, One of the things that it does, so obviously it's for shortening, but also when it bakes, the moisture inside the butter creates steam inside the scone, which then helps to elevate the scone, helps it to rise a little bit better. So so that's another reason for adding butter. A flavour, of course, is a given. That's my little daisy. There'll be somebody passing the door. I'm trying to stop a bargain every time someone passes. So I've seen added between 1 and 2 teaspoons. I think Mary Berry uses 2. Good old Mary. I'm going to use 1.5. I'm going to go halfway house and see how things see how things go. So 1.5 teaspoons of good old baking powder. Next is the sugar. I've got rid of my bowl, which is no good because I need sugar. Now this doesn't do a lot in terms of the scone itself. It's just the sweetness, and this is again a subjective one. Now I've used, on previous recipes, I've done 50 grams of butter, and I see a lot more out there. And the last ones I did, which 50 grams, were a little bit kind of, could have been sweet or savoury. So I'm going to go a little bit more, and I think I'm going to head towards 70 grams, 75 grams. Let's go 75. Like I say, this is version number 1. I'm sure I won't stick with version 1 because it's the way I work. I want to try it. I want to see what it does. If it's any good, we stick with it. If it's no good, we move on. With the sugar. So we can discard all of this malarkey now. Discard all of that. Butter can move. We've got rid of our sugar. That can create a little bit of space for myself. I'm just going to give that a quick whiz, but before I do, one last thing, just to make it my own, because I can. I'm going to add some lemon zest. No juice, because that will alter things, but the zest. I just thought, right, that would be nice. If I'm having jam and cream, there's a little bit of lemon in the jam, and I thought, well, that'd be nice, a little bit of lemon flavour coming from the scone, so just the zest. So like I say, I've never seen this. There probably exists, to be fair. What I tend to do is I look at what I'm doing at the time. I don't spend a lot of time looking at like things I'm unlikely to do. But I've got a few rasps of lemon in there, lemon zest, and that's good. Get that as well. If I've used it, I might as well use it. Give that a little whiz bomb up. Now, next one. All about ratios, so it doesn't matter what I use. If I use, so I'm using buttermilk. You can use milk. Buttermilk enhances it, and it's got some chemicals in there. It's alkaline, which reacts with the baking powder and stuff like that. Helps to tenderize it, and helps to give it like a softer, more tender crumb. So we're going to go with that. We're going to use some buttermilk because it seems to be one that is quite quite sought after. Now the ratio for buttermilk or liquids is half buttermilk to flour. So if we've used 450 grams of flour, we're using 225 grams of buttermilk. Once you know it by ratio, then it doesn't really matter. You can scale up. So 225 of buttermilk in there, and we'll get that sorted. I've got my butter. I've got my oven 230. I tell you what, I am going to adjust that because I'm not going to overdo that one. 224. That's good. And the reason being is because if you scone, and another thing, if your scone mixture is too wet, you end up with your scone collapsing and spreading, and we don't want that. We want the thing to rise and hold its structure. So we're going to add the buttermilk to the scone mix till it comes together, and we're not going to overwork it. Once it becomes a ball, we're going to take it out. You can keep a little bit of buttermilk back, so I'm going to add it all barren till it all comes together, and then I'm going to roll it out. But that's kind of that. Like I say, I'm not using eggs. Some use eggs. Now, eggs can give it more lift, more rise. It can give it a better kind of structure. However, it can make it more cake-like. So my recollection of scones is they were never cake-like. They were more crumbly and, you know, tender to eat. So on that basis, I'm not going to add eggs. So I've decided to stay clear of that one for now, because that's not the result I'm trying to achieve. So let's get it on. Let's add the buttermilk till it comes together. So I'm just dribbling that in. Don't want to overwork this, and I'm going to save a little bit back, just a little bit, and see how it goes. Still a bit crumbly. It's coming together. Just a touch more, and once it forms a ball like that, that's it. I'm happy there. Once it's gone into a ball, that's good enough for me. So what I'm going to do, there's just banana tree there. Let's get rid of the machine, get rid of all the things I don't need. That's the one. And we're going to continue not working this, but we're just going to get some flour on the top. Get rid of that, I don't need it. Anything I don't need, I'm short of space. Let's just get shot of it. Get a little bit of flour on the top. Tip this out, bring it together in a nice form of a ball, and then we're going to roll it, cut it and bake it. So here we go. So it looks a little bit crumbly all over the place, which that means it's good, it hasn't been overworked in there. And I'm just going to bring it together. Just going to push it together till it forms one ball. Like I say, this is kind of just, you know, the basics of kind of what I'd do if I was going to attempt something. You're just using kind of, you know, the basic ways of doing things, which this is. And I'm going to pat it out, keep it together, pat it out with my hands, just trying to get rid of some of the excess there, and just have what I need. There we go, just pat it out. Now, one of the things I've got, I'll get rid of that, I don't need it. One of the things I've got is this. You think it's a pizza cutter, it is, you're dead right, well spotted, well spotted. But the handle is about an inch. Just over 25 millimeters. So I'm going to use that as a guide, because that's about as thick as I want my dough. So let's bring it over here. Put a little flour on the top, just a little flour, and I'm just going to roll out there. Just make sure it's not sticking. Move it around there. It's fine. So I don't really want too much till I get the thickness which I need. And you're going to say, well, you've only got one. You did right. So observant today, you lot. Honestly, it's unreal. But I'm going to put it on the other side, and I'm just going to give that a roll till it's about where I want it to be. There we go. Now, ideally, I need two of those, and I'll make it even. So, if I'd have been clever, I'd have got myself a little bowl, which I probably... Nah, I tell you what, I'll just put some flour on the top. And what I'm going to do, little pile of flour there, and I'm going to get my cutter. This is a 6 centimetre cutter, this one. And I'm going to dip it in the scones each time. And I've got myself a little tray, and I'm just going to cut them out, and that's all I'm going to do. With scones, dip them in your flour. With scones, you don't twist, you just go down. One clean cut. There we go. There's one. Take that out. There we go. Place that on me. I always put it 10 upside down, so the bottom is on the top, if that makes sense. Back in the flour. Again, just make use of your scone mix. Take that out. Pull that out. Drop it on your tray. Leave a little gap, and repeat. Back in the flour, so nothing's going to stick. Push that in. Didn't want to turn it, wish I haven't. I'm going to put that back on there, and it's a fairly nice looking mix, to be fair. Nothing is too wet so far. I tell you what, if I just move this over a touch, you can probably see this a little bit better if I've got that there. Take it out, turn it over. Did I want to turn it over? No, oh whatever. I can't remember now what I've done. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's carry on. Actually, I don't think you need to turn it over. Maybe I'll give you a bum stay there. It seemed to be that I needed to do that with the first one. Can't remember. No, I'll tell you what. Why don't we see? Why don't we leave some turned over, some not, and see what the result is? I'm sure I've heard that somewhere, but you know, that's me. It's I forgot to. I think I forgot to flour out this one. Let's crack on. Here we go. We're all right. We're getting there. We're getting there. So I'm only going to get one more out of there, and there. I'm going to bring the dough back together. Don't overwork it. Just bring it back into a ball like that. Turn that over. Don't overwork it. Just really bring it back on itself. I'm going to give it somewhere near, because I like to say, I want things to be even if I can. It's not always possible. It's not always possible to get things exactly as you want them, but you know, we endeavour as much as we can. So I've got one there. Take that one out. I don't think it's going to make much difference if I do that. Need to make a bit of room there. Here we go. Again, back together. These will be the scrappy ones. I'm sure they don't work as well once they've been rolled, but we'll try. We'll do our best. It's all about being frugal, isn't it? Back in the day, nobody wanted waste. Everybody made use of everything that they had, and that was right. That was the right thing to do, which is good. And we're just going to do the same. And I think this is going to be the last one I'm going to get out here. Yeah, it's going to be the last one. I can just pull the edges off that. Now, last thing to do. I can either brush it with a bit of milk, or I can brush it with some egg. So, which is it going to be? I think, in all fairness, I think I'll scoot down the egg route. So you'll have to bear with me, because of all of the preparation, I didn't get myself a little bowl for the egg, so you'll have to add fire. So here we go. Bowl, brush, and a little whiskey. Not whiskey as in whiskey. A little fork to whisk the eggs. And here we go. In there, take the shell out. We don't want the shell. That wouldn't be very good. Unless you want a bit of fibre on your, or I should say not fibre, a bit of calcium on your scones. So there we go. So I'm just going to mix the egg up. One thing you can do, I'm not going to bother now because I haven't got time, is you can put a little bit of salt in, and what the salt actually does is it breaks down the egg to make it more spreadable. Now I don't want the egg down the sides, I just literally want to give them a little brush over the top. There we go. A little brush over each one, and then we'll go from there. It's alright, it's looking alright there. So we've got our little lemon zested scones, which is the first twist. I haven't bothered putting any fruit or anything in because I'm having jam and cream. That's the whole point of doing these. I'll pull these down so you can see actually what I'm doing there. You might be able to see, might not, don't know. I don't know. But like I say, no expert. I just have a go at things, and that's it really. Some of them don't look as good as others, but that's the ones that we've re-rolled. This is looking a right mess in here, which I don't like. It's no good. So I'm going to get these in the oven, 12 to 14 minutes, 200 degrees, and we'll have a look when they come out. I was thinking of sprinkling them a bit of caster sugar over the top, but I won't bother. I think I'll just dust them with icing when I come out. So that's it. They're going to go in, and we'll see when they come out. So there's my scones, Mark 1. See how they go, and we'll see the verdict. So bye for now.